This time on Battle Factory, the survival kit you carry in your pocket. The red dot that's right on target. Battle dress that's bulletproof. And the submachine gun that strikes like a scorpion. Battle Factory steps beyond the front lines into top secret factories where combat gear is built for battle. When these tiny tools are machined and joined together, they will make up the ultimate mini multitasker. Since its invention over a century ago, the iconic Swiss Army knife has evolved into a pocket-sized hardware store with fold-out features that include everything from tweezers to a wood saw. In 1891, in his cutlery shop in Eibach, Switzerland, inventor Karl Elsner came up with a multi-tool which incorporated a knife, can opener, and screwdriver in one compact body, the soldier's knife, and soon became standard issue to the Swiss Army. Today, the Swiss Army knife is used by millions of soldiers and civilians alike for everything from chopping firewood to building a spear. The Swiss Army knife breaks down into three parts: the case, the dividers, and the tools. All the steel tools are made with 13% chrome to make them rust resistant. Before construction begins, the steel sheets are checked for consistency. A spectral analyzer measures the purity of the metal. Spools of 3mm thick steel are transferred to the punch press room. 20 computer-controlled presses punch through the steel with 40 tons of force to cut out the Swiss Army knife's legendary blade. Each strip of steel will produce 30,000 knives. Next, the bottle openers, can openers, and the rest of the Swiss Army knife's many gadgets are punched out. The classic model contains 7 tools, including the penknife and scissors. But some knives, like the Swiss Champ XXLT, have 70 gadgets, including pliers, a magnifying glass, and a ballpoint pen. The blades are placed in huge vibrating machines filled with stones and rubber chunks, which grind against the blades to deburr or smooth the edges. Then the blades stick to a magnetic wheel, which picks them up and drops them onto a conveyor belt. They're deposited into a rotating tank full of sand, where they're dried and degreased. The excess parts are shaken loose in a jitter machine. The knives and other pieces are heated and then rapidly cooled. This alters their molecular structure and hardens the metal. Next, the parts are transferred to the automatic shape machine. The grooves, angles, and inserts are machined into the metal blade and can opener, which enables the user to grasp the tool between their fingers and pull it out of the case. In 1995, during his first mission into space, Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield used his standard-issue Swiss Army knife to dock the space shuttle Atlantis to the Russian space station Mir. The cosmonauts had secured the hatch with a tough triple-knotted strapping material, and Hadfield simply couldn't untie it to open the door. Unclasping the blade on his Swiss Army knife, he was able to cut the strapping, get the door open, and make history. All the parts are collected and itemized in a sorting room before they're shipped off for assembly. Pins are pressed into the case walls, which hold the entire mechanism together. Each item is placed in layers by hand, Then a machine stamps them into place. A bushing is placed in between layers so that each tool unclasps smoothly without getting stuck on its neighbor. Then the cover is press-fit on, and the little plastic toothpick is slid into its sheath. Before they leave the plant, every function on the knife is checked by hand. The Swiss Army knife is complete. Whatever the add-on, the Swiss Army knife has already earned its reputation as a legendary toolkit and a survival kit you can hold in the palm of your hand. Coming up on Battle Factory, taking aim with laser-sharp accuracy, and what to wear to the front lines. When power runs through this diode and lens, it will project a laser beam that pinpoints a target with total accuracy and plants a red dot right on the bullseye. The Crimson Trace MVF600 red dot laser sight fits on the rail of a gun, and with its built-in flashlight provides precision targeting in any environment. Red dot laser sights were invented in 1975, but they weren't adapted by the US military until the year 2000. Today, the laser sight is an integral part of the soldier's kit, sharpening aim and enhancing targeting, especially for nighttime operations. The laser sight breaks down into three main parts: the flashlight, the tang, and the laser. The laser consists of a diode, which is an electro-optic, like the little filament inside of a light bulb, and a precision lens. In order to make the laser work, two tail wires need to be attached to the end of the diode, and the lens placed on top to focus the beam. First, the diodes are steadied on a fixture, and then the brass tips are snipped off. Next, the wires are dipped in an acid solution, then soldered to the diode tip. Now wired for power, another technician presses the diode's tail post firmly in place with a coating of epoxy. The bond has to be tight for the laser to project a perfectly straight beam. Then it's left to dry for 24 hours. The lens is dropped into the lens holder. The cap goes over the holder, and the lens system is press-fit together. The lens system amplifies and focuses the laser beam, which can project onto an object up to 230 meters away. Pulling off a covert operation takes exhaustive training and razor-sharp aim. An elite team might take days closing in on their objective, and then suddenly storm their way past a heavily guarded perimeter. With the laser sight pinpointing their target, that red dot will be the last thing their targets ever see. The laser and flashlight sit on opposite sides of the sight's handle. First, the flashlight's electrical system is assembled, then capped inside the casing. Then, the laser's diode and lens are fit together. Once connected, a tech calibrates the laser beam for sharpness and accuracy. The laser is then locked into its casing to complete construction. The tang contains the laser sight's power supply, housed inside the grip. Once the circuit board is programmed, it's installed alongside the batteries and controls into the handle. The tang attaches under the barrel of the weapon, doubling as a grip onto which the flashlight and laser are mounted. The on-off switch is right on the grip, so the shooter never has to take his hand off his weapon to activate the sight. The laser sight is calibrated to ensure total precision. The MVF-600 is ready for action. On the firing range, the laser sight is tested for accuracy. The beam aims for a target 30 meters away, focusing the red dot at its center. Bullseye. In the real world and combat zone, the MVF-600 will do what it's designed to do with lethal precision. Guide a bullet so it lands right on the red dot. Coming up on Battle Factory. A suit of armor for the modern-day warrior. And looking down the barrel of a submachine gun. These bolts of bulletproof fabric will soon become wearable protection and a soldier's last line of defense. In the past, body armor tended to be clunky, cumbersome, and restrictive. Today, it's built for maximum protection and maximum mobility. Fenix combat body armor owes much of its strength to a lightweight synthetic ballistic material called aramid. Comprised of 82 different pieces, the Fenix body armor is made up of the armored plating and the fabric. Rolls of camouflage fabric are laid out onto a table. Templates of the 60 shapes that make up the vest are laid over the material, traced and cut. A layer of 3D shock protection netting lines the inside of the vest, absorbing the impact of an explosive shock wave or bullet to minimize injury. Camouflage fabric pouches are sewn into the netting that will hold padding and armor. The basic profile is then sewn together to form the front and back of the vest. Heavy nylon strips are sewn into the vest to hold the surface components of the armor in place. Layers of aramid form the soft ballistic protection packets. They're placed in waterproof bags and sealed with an ultrasonic welder before they're inserted into the vest. This process is vital, as any water or moisture in the aramid will compromise its bulletproof nature and make it act more like a lubricant, actually helping the bullet to penetrate the wearer. In a Taliban compound in Afghanistan in February 2008, Royal Marine Corporal Matthew Croucher was patrolling with his crew when he hit a tripwire tied to a grenade. With only seconds to react, Croucher threw his backpack onto the grenade and dove onto it, hoping his sacrifice would save the rest of his team. While the explosion tore up his gear, his body armor absorbed enough of the impact to save every member of his unit, himself included. Croucher was awarded the George Cross for gallantry. The rigid armor is made from plates of strong, lightweight PVC. The smaller segments are die-punched by machine, but larger pieces, like the backplate, are traced, cut, then punched out by hand. Holes are punched out of the PVC plates to lighten the armor. The plates are then sewn into the pouches in the front, back, shoulders, and around the waist. When the vest is tightened, 35 kilos worth of armor plating is spread evenly around the body, taking the stress off the shoulders. Now, the body armor is ready to be assembled. The packets of aramid are inserted into the camouflage fabric, and the 3D shock protection pouches are sealed with Velcro. An additional layer of heavy ballistic material is inserted into the body of the vest. The front and back pieces of the vest are attached to a quick release system, so they can be ripped off to alleviate weight or treat an injury. Then the groin, shoulder, neck, and other padding is attached to the main body. The completed armor is ready for testing. On the firing range, the body armor is draped over a thick block of putty to simulate a human body. First, it takes rounds from a semi-automatic 9mm. Then the armor is checked to see where the bullets might have penetrated. Marks in the putty would be wounds on the wearer. Then the process is repeated with the submachine gun. If the armor survives the test, it will be shipped out to Special Forces units, who will custom kit them to their personal specs when they wear them in the field. And the next time bullets are fired at this armor, it will be protecting flesh and blood. Body armor won't make the wearer invulnerable, but this protective gear can get in the way of a bullet and keep a soldier alive. Coming up on Battle Factory. A single round or full-on automatic, it's the right weapon for any operation. When this steel pipe is drilled and honed, it'll become the barrel end of a weapon that's compact, versatile, and deadly as a scorpion. The Scorpion submachine gun is lighter than a rifle and more versatile than a handgun. Fast loading with a fold-out stock, it can fire single shots, 3-round bursts, or empty its magazine in full auto. Accurate to 200 meters, the Scorpion is the weapon of choice for many military and security forces around the world. And the Scorpion machine gun's ability to shoot with precision is built right into the barrel. The steel used to make the Scorpion's barrel is first left to cure outside the plant. Weathering the rain, heat, and changing temperatures might coat the metal with rust, but it also makes it more durable. First, the barrel is precision drilled to create a hollow running the length of the cylinder. Next, the opening is bored out in 115mm sections. The barrel spins on a lathe to scrape off the rust and smooth out the surface. In a hammer forge, 4 synchronized hammers pummel at the steel 1,000 times per minute with 45 tons of force, extending the length of the barrel and etching out corkscrew grooves on the inner wall. These unique grooves, or rifling, cause the bullets to spin so they fly straight and true. Then, the barrel is cut to length. Finally, a technician inspects the barrel's interior, cleaning out any debris and checking the rifling that makes up this Scorpion's distinctive fingerprint. Any flaw in the barrel could send a bullet way off its mark. The trigger is cut to spec inside a computer-controlled cutting machine. Small components that make up the submachine gun's action, including the slide stop, trigger, and dynamic bolt, are baked in a very hot kiln to harden and toughen the metal. On April 30th, 1980, 6 armed men stormed the Iranian embassy in London, taking 26 hostages and demanding passage out of England and the release of their imprisoned brethren. For days, British police stalled, managing to gain the release of 5 hostages without giving in to terrorist demands. In frustration, the terrorists executed a hostage. With lightning force, the British Special Air Services, armed with submachine guns and stun grenades, stormed the embassy, killing 5 of the 6 terrorists and rescuing all but 1 of the hostages. The SAS solidified their reputation in the most successful rescue op of all time. All in all, it takes about 25 minutes to assemble the gun. Each part must fit precisely to within a millimeter's tolerance. The barrel is attached to the body of the gun. Next, the trigger assembly and slide are inserted into the stock. The Scorpion submachine gun is known as the gun that'll shoot under any condition. To make sure it lives up to its rep, testing goes to extremes. First, the gun fires 2 overpressure rounds, 20 to 30% more powerful than a typical round, to ensure the strength of the gun. Then, the gun is subjected to a 5-round precision test, the results of which are measured by a computer. The Scorpion is built to withstand being dropped from a height without shattering. It can also be submerged until water fills the gun. Once it's completely soaked, rounds can still be fired in full automatic mode. Even when the gun is dumped into thick bogs of mud and coated, it continues to fire. The Scorpion submachine gun combines the best of a full-scale automatic rifle and a nimble handgun. And like its namesake, it's got survival skills and a killer instinct.